Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastuma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Chaitanyam Sarvagam Sarvam Sarvabhuta Guhashayam Yat Sarva Vishayatitam Tasmai Sarvavide Namaha. Atmeka Sarvabhuteshu Tani Tasmimscha Kheyatha Parijagad Vyomavat Sarvam Shukram Deeptimadishyate Vrasmai Vorabhavena Sthulam Deham Nivarayet Shuddha Papataya Lepam Lingam Chakaya Mityudha. So earlier was Jatyadin Samparityajya Nimittam Karmanam Buddha. Buddha Karmanam Nimittam Jatyadin Samparityajya. That which causes one to perform karma is Jatyadin, is the Abhimanam, identification with Jati, where Avastha, Sambandha also is like a Shava, a dead body also causes me to perform the final rites because it is my father, my mother, so Sambandha also is involved. All of these are nimitta, they are the causes of making me perform karma. This jati means the identification. I am a Brahmana or a Kshatriya or a man or a woman or whatever. Moment that thought comes to me, this is how, this my conclusion, notion about me, moment that appears in my mind, some kartavya, something that I should do, that idea is always involved. And so therefore they become the nimitta. Samparityajya, how to give up those things? All of these are the notions born in me about myself because of identification with the body, mind, sense complex. So give up that identification is the way to give up this jati, etc. The notion of jati. Karma heta viruddham yat swarupam. In my swarupa there is karma hetu viruddham. There is nothing in me that is hetu or cause that makes me do something or that does anything. There is no kartrutva in Atma in me, nor is there karayitrutva. So this Brahmanatva etc. are not karta but karayita. They make me do things and then I become the karta. So this kartrutva, karayitrutva are the causes of action. I am devoid of kartrutva, karayitrutva, any kind of vishesha. Shastroktam, this is what the Shastra teaches, smaret. May one contemplate upon oneself in this manner. What does Shastra say? Atmekah sarvabhuteshu. Sarvabhuteshu ekah eva atma na chetana bhedosti. In all the beings, everything is different. There is asamatvam, vishamatvam, everywhere there is no samatvam at the level of perception. Each name and form is different, the other name and form, each upadhi is different, good, bad, indifferent. The chetana bhedosti. To appreciate that there is no bheda, division, difference between chetana, I should also evaluate myself from saying, as long as I look upon myself as an individual, so long the divisions are going to be there, disparity is going to be there, differences are going to be there. Atma ekha sarvabhuteshu. But that doesn't mean Atma is located in bhutas. Tani tasmin, they are located in. So Atma is as though located in beings and beings are located in Atma, which means that there is no primary located location relationship. Swadhyasya sakala vikara anusyuta sattasfurti rupaha. What it is, anusyuta, the one that obtains equally in all the names and forms of beings as a adhishthanam, not as a content, not as a location, but as a adhishthanam. Yatha, just as the space is present in all the containers without being in them. Part space without being in the part is there. Sthulam deham nivarayed. How should one contemplate on this? Sthula deham nivarayed. So sthula deha nivrittoham, sthula deha rahitoham. All these vrana, snayu, all of these belong to sthula deha. I am not that. Akayam sukshma deha rahitoham. Shuddhoham karana deha rahitoham. Apapa viddhoham. Devoid of kartrutva, bhoktrutva, papa, punya, samskara. स्थूल सूक्ष्म देह तत्कार्य तद्वासना में व्यावृत्त है. So who am I? स्थूल देह व्यावृत्तो हम, डिवाइड ऑफ स्थूल देह. सूक्ष्म देह व्यावृत्तो हम, डिवाइड ऑफ सूक्ष्म देह. तत्कार्य तद्वासनाभ्यः, and the actions performed by them and the vasanas, samskaras gathered as a result of those actions. Vyavruttah, I am totally devoid of all this. Nirvishesham. Samaha ekaha aparichchinnah atmayati. I am samaha, equal. Ekaha, non-dual. Aparichchinnah, boundless. Self I am. It is sada chintaye. So the teacher says, that is how, don't look upon yourself as so and so. Brahmana, Kshatriya, man, woman, X, Y, Z, don't look upon yourself that way. All of those designations belong to Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, which are the nimitta, the identification with which is nimitta or the cause of karma, which creates karma phala, which creates samskara. I am totally devoid of that. They are there, but they are not in I. I am the adhishthanam. Impardinam satta sfurti swarupoham. So, I am there where they are. Where Sthula Sharira is, I am there, imparting satta sfurti. Where Sukshma Sharira is, where karma is, where karma phala is, where samskara, they are not without me. But I am completely devoid of them. Which means that they can be let go. I am without them, which means that I don't have to be identified with them, I don't even have to think of them. The thinking is from identification primarily. Sada chintayet. So continuing the verse number 11, Yevam yathoktam atmanam veti. Yathoktam atman. So Veti knows the Atma that was so stated. Sthula, Sukshma, Deha, Tatkaya, Tadvasana, Vyavruttaha. That's how one thinks of oneself. Samaha, Ekaha, Aparichinnaha, Atma. Atma I am. Therefore, the Vidya Sutra is Atma ityeva upasita. Sthula is not Atma, Sukshma is not Atma, Karma is not Atma, Kartrutva, Karitritva, Karma, Karmaphala, Vasanas. None of them is Atma. I pervade all of them, but then at the same time I transcend all of them. Yevam yathoktam atmanam veti. One thus who knows Atma, the self, as unfolded in the previous verse, Saha Brahmavidam Uttamaha, he is the most exalted among the knowers of Brahma. So Brahmavid Vara, Brahmavid Varishtaha, he is the most exalted among the knowers of Brahma. That is stated in the verse number 11. Now it says, Vasudevo yathashvathe swadehe chabravit samam tadvadvetya atmanam samam sabrahma vittamaha. Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, describing the vibhutis and glories of oneself, Ashvattha sarvavrikshanamiti. Lord Krishna said, I am Ashvattha sarvavrikshanam madhye. Among all the trees, I am Ashvattha, people tree. Vrishninam Vasudevosmi. Among all the Vrishnis, a descendant of Vrishni. I am the Vasudeva. So, in the course of describing Lord Krishna's glory in who I am, Lord Krishna said, I am a tree also. And I am Vasudeva also. So, Vasudeva yatha ashvathe swadehe se abravit samam. In Ashvatha also I am there, people tree also I am there, in Vasudeva also I am there. Samam abravit, Lord Krishna says, I am equally present in both. The most mundane and the most exalted. Tadvadvetya Atma, one who knows Atma as Vasudeva knows, samam, that Atma is equal in all of them, Saha Brahmvittamaha. So the Tika says Vasudeva Bhagavan Krishna. So here there is a footnote. Sarvani tatra bhutani vasanti paramatmani bhuteshu sarvatma vasudevas tata smudha Vishnu Purana. So in the Tika apparently this verse is found. Tataha vasudeva smutah. Tataha sarvatma vasudeva smutah. Sarvatma, the self of all, is therefore called Vasudeva. Why is it so? Sarvani tatra bhutani tatra paramatmani sarvani bhutani vasanti. And therefore vasanti yasmin saha Vasudeva. The one in whom everyone dwells. Vas, in terms of dwelling. So, Sarvani Bhutani Tatra Paramatmani Vasanti. All the beings, they dwell in that Paramatma. Meaning Paramatma is the very adhisthana of all the beings. Since that all the ornaments dwell in the gold, or the snake dwells in the robe, so also all the beings dwell in Paramatma, Bhuteshu cha saha, and he dwells in all the beings. So, Vasati sarveshu bhuteshu, one who dwells in all the beings, and sarva bhutani vasanti yatra, and all the beings dwell in whom. So, from the root vas means to dwell. So, Vishnu Purana explains the word Vasudeva. Tatha Vasudeva smrita sarvatma. This is the definition of Sarvatma. Self of all is the one that is present everywhere and in whom everything is present also. So Sarvatma means the Advitiya Atma, the non-dual self. That's what Ishavasya explains as the definition of Sarvatma. And that is here in the Vishnu Purana also, Bhagavad Gita also, there is Anuvada, reiteration of what Ishavasya said. Jasu sarvani bhutani atmanyeva anupashyati sarvabhuteshu atmanam. So that's how the word Vasudeva is explained in the Vishnu Purana. So going back to Tika, Vasudeva Bhagavan Krishna Ashwatha Sarvrikshanam, I am the Ashwatha among all the trees. Therefore, Nikrishta Upado, a tree is a very inferior Upadi, very low grade Upadi. I mean, it is because it is Thavaram. The poor trees are cursed because they have no movement at all. All Jangama, all the moving or mobile beings are more fortunate than trees because they cannot move. In that sense, tree can be said to be the lowest grade of Upadhi. In that, Lord Krishna says, I dwell as a self. Swadehecha, and in I, who is Vasudeva, Vrishnunam, Vasudevasmi, I am Vasudeva. So Ashwatha Vriksha also I am, and Vasudeva also I am. Who is Vasudeva? Avirbhuta, Jnana Ishwarya, Shaktimat, Atmadhisthite, Utkrishta Upadaucha. This is the most exalted Upadhi of Lord Krishna. Among the avatars also, Lord Krishna's avatar is said to be a complete avatar. Complete in the sense that all the glories of the Lord who has incarnated, all of them are manifest in Lord Krishna. In every avatar, all the glories are there. There is Matsya, Kurma, Varaha. But those glories are not manifest because they are not required to manifest. In the given avatar is called Amsha avatar because only Amsha are a part of Lord Krishna, Lord's glory. Of Aishwarya, sixfold glories or greatness. So one or two of them may be evident, which is required to perform or respond to that situation for which the avatar is taken. But in Lord Krishna, all the glory, all Aishwarya. Aishwaryasya, Samagrasya, Dharmasya, Yashasah, Shriyah, Vairagyat Mokshasya, Vairagyasyat Mokshasya, or Jnanasya. So Vairagya, Jnanam, Dharma, Yashah, Aishwarya, overlordship. All of these are evident or manifest in all measure in Lord Krishna. So with reference to Upadhi, that is the most exalted Upadhi. The exaltedness is judged or determined by the manifestation of greatness or glories. So Avirbhuta, because Vijnana, Aishwarya, Shaktimat, Atma Dhisthite. In Atma, all of this is evident. Vijnanam, the omniscience, Aishwarya, the overlordship, Shakti, the power. So Atma, possessed of all of these glories, is the adhishthanam of the Upadhi of Vasudeva. So that Upadhi is most fortunate, Utkrishta Upadhi. That in that Upadhi, the Atma or Paramatma chose to manifest as possessed of. It possesses, but it chose that all these glories are evident in that Upadhi. Therefore, it is Utkrishta Upadhi, the most exalted Upadhi. Chetha samam swadhecha abravit samam abravit. Not that in Vasudeva I have more preference and therefore I am present in a greater part. And Ashwatha is an insignificant thing, though I am insignificantly present there. No, samam, equally present. Avishishtam, Vishishtam means without any distinction. The I who is present in Ashwatha and the I who is present in Vasudeva, there is no distinction between that. Avishishtam Atmanam Abravid. This is how Lord Krishna described himself. In a way that shows the greatest humility on the part of Lord Krishna, who has no hesitation in identifying himself or declaring himself as a tree. He can proudly declare himself that I am Vasudeva. And if that is all, that's all he says, that would be perhaps pride. But the same brother says, I am a tree also. That shows total humility. That shows total self-acceptance, self-confidence, that he does not have to measure himself by Upadhi. If Lord Krishna also had the notion about himself based on Upadhi, then he could never say that I am present, equally present, not just present. In a tree, in a rock also, in fact. He said, I am a mountain, why only a tree? He said, I am a mountain also, Sthavaranam, Himalaya. And so that is how the Himalaya am, Sthavara, even tree is a live thing. Mountain is not even a live thing, but anyway. So in order to be comfortable with this, understand how the notion about myself should undergo a total transformation. This doesn't happen just by thinking. This contemplation of self, good to think, no doubt about that. But we have to become that. This is a knowledge which requires me to become that. And therefore it is not just thinking, it is being also. Meaning that a complete transformation in myself to become that so low, meaning that so humble. And so the bhaktas would say, Trunadapi sunichena, one who is sunichena trunadapi, who is inferior to even a blade of grass. So that is a bhakta. Trunadapi sunichena tarohapi Sahishnuna. One who is Sahishnu, meaning one who forbears, puts up with all the pain, the suffering, more than even tree. So tree is of course in the model for Sahishnuta, for putting up with pain, forbearance. Tree is an exemplary thing. And grass is exemplary in terms of the humility. Trunadapi sunichena, one who is nicha, even inferior to a blade of grass. So that shows how a complete transformation about my thinking of myself has gone through. I don't need to be great in order to be happy. I don't need to be great to be dominating in order to be happy. Blade of grass, tree, So this is how the example are given by bhaktas. Kirtaniyas Hari. So who has to do the kirtanam of the Hari? One who is like this. The point is that this teaching is not just confined to thinking. The yoga means self-transformation. It's taken for granted, of course, but this text will address the people who have already done that. But the point is that when Lord Vasudeva says that I am this, it shows that he has no difficulty in declaring himself as inferior to a tree, while claiming all superiority also. Iti ja tadvad veti atmanam, in that manner he atmanam veti, one who knows the self. Samam veti. Upadrikrata vaishamya apohena ekarupam veti. Upanishad also says, sayaschayam purushe yascha sava sayaschayam purushe yascha savaditye sayekah. Sayaschayam purushe, one who is in a Devadatta, ordinary person, and Aditya in the Ishvara, Ekaha, meaning thereby totally erasing the distinctions that the Upadhis supposedly create, the identification of Upadhi. Samam upadhukrata vaishamya apohena. Apohena, by giving up the vaishamyam, the vishamata, means the dissimilarity, the superiority and inferiority both. So this upadhi creates the idea of superiority and inferiority. Apohena, that can be given up only to the extent that the identification of upadhi is given up. Eka rupam veti, who knows himself as eka, equally present in the lower than the lowest and higher than the highest. Saha brahmavittamaha, So Atishayana Brahmavid. So that tama pratyaya is explained. Atishayana Brahmavid tamaha. So Atishayana Brahmavid. The tama pratyaya explains Atishayana. He is exceedingly the knower of, exceedingly great knower of Brahman. Or the greatest knower of Brahman. Vasudevasya yuktam sarvatra samatma darshanam. Then we all read for Vasudeva, for Lord Krishna. Tasya upadeshu mamahankara rahitatvad. That Lord Vasudeva, being who he is, or who he was, he did not have I, the sense of I or mindness with reference to his upadhi. A Shishupala could never say that. A Duryodhana could never say that. Because they were proud only because of the strong identification with upadhi. But Vasudeva can say enlightened one, avatara, so he can say that. Tasya upadishu mamahankar rahitatvad. Because devoid of the I and mine in this upadhi. So to mumukshu, but what about me, someone like me, mumuksho hoy mumukshu. Tasya tad vaiparityad. A muksha is totally viparita. Totally opposed, contrary to Vasudeva. He has no identification. I possess identification. So, in short, that this body I am and this is mine. That's what it is. For Vasudeva, there was not so he had this vision of samatvam. How can I have who possesses body? Who is body? Who has the I and mine? This kind of relation with the body, how can I say I am equally present in everybody? So the verse 12 says, Yatha hyanya sharireshu mama hantana cheshyate asmimschapi tatha dehe Disakshitva visheshatah. Very simple methods are provided here for contemplating upon the self. Nothing very complicated. Yathai anyashayesu mama ahantana chaishyate. In other body, I don't have the notions of I and mine because I know it's other body. I am not. That is very clear. Asmimschapi. Then, by the same token, this body also is an object of knowledge as awareness other body is. The sakshitva visheshatah. Just as that body is a sakshi of the buddhi, so this body is sakshi of the buddhi, and therefore, what's the difference in two bodies? Why do you say that, well, I have to have the I and my relation? Why should you have? So, tika sa anya sharireshu. In the other bodies, what? Bahir dushyamaneshu deheshu. The dehas, bodies, upadis that are bahir dushyamaneshu, that are seen, experienced as outside of me. So, still you have the notion that you are this body and this body is yours, alright. In that case, what is outside the boundary of the body is bahihi, outside. It is this identification of the body that creates the ideas of outside and inside. The space is identification with this part, then there is space within the part and space without the part. So let us say you have that. Therefore, the world outside the body is bahihi, is outside, external. Bahihi dushyamaneshu deheshu. When there is sense of I-ness in this upadhi, that I am not anything outside is also very clear. When this is my house, is very clear that no other house is mine. So this is I and mine. It is clear that what is outside the boundary of body is not I. So Bahidushyamaneshu Deheshu, the bodies, upadis that I see outside of myself, yatha mama ahanta, mama ahamo bhavo na chaishyate. And therefore, it never happens that I think that that is I or that is mine. Thank God. The dog is he, other than me, I am other than them. Therefore, in that body, mamakara, ahankara never arises. And that applies to all the bodies outside of this myself. So this, now when the mumukshu pointed to the experience, that my experience is that I am this body and this is mine, this body. When I have that experience, how can I have samatvam like Lord Krishna? Alright, you experience that this is I and mine. You similar experience that that is not I and mine also. So let us look at that experience. Tasya dusyatvena anatmatva nischayat. That is a nischaya, that I am not that is very clear to me, whether it is by some reasoning or dushyatva. But then when I look at how come I say I am not this table? I am not so and so. Dusyatvena, then I realize that what enables me to know the distinction between that and I is that is dushya and I am drashta. Anatmatva nischaya, therefore, that body is anatma is very clear to me, and there is an ascertainment, nischaya in me, that is not I, that's not mine, that is anatma. Maybe someone related to me, I may say it is mine, but not related, I don't have any I and mine. Mama, ahamaha, bhavaha, na chaishyate, aham, 6 case of aham. Mama 6 case asmatsu mama ahamaha bhava na chaishyate. Tasya dusyatvena anatmatva nischayat. Tasya anatmatva nischayat. I am born with this nischaya that I am not. And then if I ask myself, how come I say I am not that? Then it becomes clear it is dushyam. I am drashta, so dushya I am not. Tatha asminschapi svatva abhimate dehe. Then the mumuksha is asked that, what is the justification for you to say that this body I am? Or this body is mine? What is the justification? Other than not having subjected that conclusion to any scrutiny of reasoning. So you taken for granted. Tatha asminschapi svatva vimate dehe mama ahanta na ishyate. If that body I am not, then there is no justification for me to say this body I am. If that body is not mine, then there is no justification to say that this body is mine. Why? Dehakara parinata buddhi sakshitva avisheshadityadaha. Buddhi sakshitva avisheshat. The dehakara is a buddhi sakshi, that deha. So this dehakara also is a parinama and therefore equally buddhi sakshi. I am equally aware of this body. But Swami, you say that I am much more intimately aware of this body than I am aware of that body. So if being aware is the criterion for knowing that aware is different from the object awareness, that I am different from that body because I am aware of that body, then I am equally or more intimately aware of this body. Therefore, I should be saying that this body also I am not. I should be saying that. What I say is a different thing. Meaning that the conclusion that I entertain that this body I am is no justification. अविचार सिद्ध संसारः. Samsara aham mama kartrutva bhoktru avichara siddha is only because it is not scrutinized or not subjected to vichara or reasoning. Buddhi avishesha. Yeah, that is also buddhi sakshi and this is also buddhi sakshi. No difference between sakshya. That body also is the sakshi or witness of the buddhi, and this body also equally the sakshya. So is also object of the buddhi which is sakshi. तथा च आत्मतत्व आलोचनायाम. So as long as I do not scrutinize my conclusions, Atmatva Alochanaayam, when Alochana is done, deliberation is done as to Atma Tattva, what's the nature of Atma? Ahankaradehe anavasaratvat. Then declaring his body as I has no occasion at all, because when I realize that this is also Sakshyam, is also witnessed by the Buddhi, Buddhi is as much witness of this body. Vasudevat samatma darshanam yuktam. If you therefore challenge the notions that you have right now, then you realize that they are all simply result of not addressing addressing the justification of these notions. In that sense, you are no different from Vasudeva. Vasudeva what? Samatvarasam yuktameva. So you, the mumukshu, the mortal being, I am a mortal being. Vasudeva is God. How can you expect me to have the same vision as Vasudeva, the God has? There is no difference in Atmatvam, that you are the same Atma that Vasudeva is. Atma Tattva Alochanayam. What is required is Alochanam. Deliberation upon, thinking about the Atma Tattva, the true nature of I. And for that a simple method is given. Just as other body is Drushya, this body also is Drushya. Other body is not called I and mine, so there is no reason for you to call it I and mine. You calling is a different thing. But we cannot justify. It's one thing to say something, believe something, other thing to justify just because I say something, I believe something, to justify is a different thing. They are perpetuating samsara. Ragadvesha ubhaya upalambhat nasti mukshoho abhimana bhavayati. But I am immortal again. Ragadvesha ubhaya upalambhat. Not only I find myself as calling this body as I and mine. Now you say that is okay, not justified. But then I find myself possessed of ragadveshas. I find myself possessed of attachment and aversion. Therefore, how can I be free from the abhimana, the identification with this body, mumuksho, abhimana bhavaha? Lord Vasudeva had no abhimana, no identification whatever with his body, because he didn't have ragadveshas also. But I have ragadveshas. So how can there be absence of, or how can I be devoid of the abhimanam, identification with his upadhi? Meaning ragadveshas make me identify. And that is why this notion of I and mine are generated in me. If that is your argument, then the next verse says, Rupa samskara tulyadhi ragadvesha ubhayancha taryata Krishyate dhishrayam tasmad Jnata shuddho bhayas sada. By the way, the very same verse was quoted. The footnote says that if you look at the page 38, well, there was 35th passage, of the Gadya section. In Gadya section, it's Tatha cha Uktam. It's interesting. If Gadya and Padya are written by the same author, page 26 in our. Yeah, in yours, okay. So, then it is the passage 35, Tatha cha Uktam, Rupa Samskara Tulyadi, Raga, the same verse is quoted there, Tatha cha Uktam. Uktam by whom? So anyway, we believe that both of these sections are written by the same author, or I don't know, whatever. Rupa Samskara Tulya Adhi. That Adhi Visarga gets turned, Swami will tell you what rules are involved. Visarga turns into Refa and becomes the Dirghadi. So, the previous vowel is elongated. So, Adhi becomes Adhi. Alright. So, Rupa, that's how these scholars, throw in something like that here to confuse also. Not confuse, but anyway, this is their specialty. Rup samskara tulya adhi ragadveshu bhayam chayat. So raga, dvesha, bhaya, all of these have the same ashraya, rupa samskara. Now, very cleverly or very beautifully, intelligently pointed out that what justification do you have to say that I possess ragadvesha? Where are ragadvesha centered? Do the ragadvesha, do they have the location in Atma? Is that what enables you to justify that I am possessed of ragadvesha? Yes, if ragadveshas are centered upon Atma, if Atma is locus for ragadvesha, then you can say that I possess ragadvesha. How can I be like Lord Vasudeva? But just that body is there and therefore no justification, call it I and mine. So also ragadvesha also, they have their locus. Not in Atma but in Anatma. And therefore no justification to declare identification of ragadvesha or possessed of ragadvesha. That also is only lack of addressing this conclusion on your part. Rupa samskara. Rupa means color or the form. Samskara is the impression born of an experience of a color or form. Meaning that whenever we experience something, that experience leaves an impression. Which later, why do we say that? Later on, that very same thing is seen, in my mind. So, Rupa Samskara Tulyadhi. So, very interesting. Our Renu, in Atlantic City, she calls me a day or two ago and says, Swami, I had an amazing dream. So this is very winter there, it's very cold in the temple, and she is in charge of temple. So at one point she thought this Lord Krishna is feeling very cold, this Lord Krishna's murti there. So she had a shawl which she placed on Lord Krishna, wrapped him up. He says, Swamiji, that night you came in my dream. Now I should not say this, but this is what she told me. You gave me the same shawl that I had given to Lord Krishna. See, the only story is the impression that offering that shawl to Lord Krishna, that created an impression of shawl, that created this experience in dream, that same shawl is offered to her. It doesn't stop there. Next day, Swami, some unknown person came and gave me the same shawl. Anyway, her life is full of chamatkaras. Anyway. So what I am saying here is the samskaras. How a given experience leaves samskara impression, and then how that impression comes as a memory or a dream. The point is that every experience leaves a samskara or impression. And those impressions are in the mind, because it is the mind that remembers, mind that projects a dream, not in Atma. That's the whole idea here. Krishyate dhishrem tasmat. Therefore, all of these are appreciated as located in buddhi. Ragadveshas are also at the same location as those samskaras. Now, we are very clear that the samskaras or impressions from experiences are in the mind. That we are clear because they result in memory and dream. So, whatever experience I have through organs of perception, like the color and form, that experience leaves a samskara or an impression in my mind. So, this I am clear. That mind is the locus of this samskaras born of experiences. Then here the author points out that ragadvesha also have the same locus, namely mind. Atma is not the locus. Krishyate dhishrayam, because that samskaras I appreciate, I am aware of those samskaras as located in buddhi or mind. Similarly, ragadvesha also have the location in buddhi or mind, not in Atma. Tasmad jnata shuddha abhaya sada. The jnata is sada, ever pure, ever abhaya, fearless. So Tika says, Niladi rupa samskarena tulyah samanah adihi. That adi became adi. Adi means ashraya. Yayo to ragadveshau rupa samskara tulyadi. Or you have to, so ragadveshau rupa samskara tulyadi, that is dual. But in that case, if it's rupa samskara tulyadi ragadveshau, then it has to be dual and not, So, ragadvesha rupa samskara tulyadhi. So, ragadvesha have the same adhikaranam as rupa samskara. So, niladi rupa samskara tulyaha samana adi asha yayaho tau ragadvesha. So, rupa samskara tulyadhi means what? Rupa samskarana tulyaha adi yayau ragadveshau tau rupa samskara tulyadhi. So, ragadveshau are those which have the same adhihi or adhikaram as rupa samskara. Bhayam cha yacha bhayam tadavi tat samana ashramiti. So ragadveshas have the same locus as the samskaras born of the experience of the rupa, color and form. And bhaya, fear, also has the same location. So now rupa samskara, what is samskara? The tika is samskaro nama swashrayasya pragudbhuta avastha saman avasthantar apadak atindriyo dharma. Very beautiful explanation of what is samskara. What is called samskara or impression is swashrayasya pragudbhuta avastha saman avasthantara apadakah. Swashrayastha samskara, which is swashrayastha, it is an ashraya, the locus, namely mind. Pragudbhuta avastha. So when the experience of, let's say, color or form took place, then swashraya avastha, then the ashraya, mind that is ashraya of this samskara, that samskara, so then mind had the form, that the mind became the rupa akaram. So when the experience of rupa or color or form was there, the mind also assumed the same form as rupa. Like experience of ghata creates ghatakar vritti, mind assumes form of ghata. Similarly, when you experience color or form, the mind also assumes the same form of color. Then, what is samskara? That same rupadya pragudbhuta avastha. So this is avastha. The rupakara vritti is avastha that took place when first the rupa or color was experienced. Saman avasthantara, then samskara is that which creates a similar state. Meaning rupakara vritti is there, the samskara creates again another rupakara vritti, similar rupakara vritti. See, samskara of the ghatakar vritti or ghata anubhava creates another ghatakar vritti. That's called samskara. So samskaro nama swash. So what samskara does, it transforms the ashraya. Mind is ashraya, samskara transforms the mind. The same form, that form was earlier. The experience from which samskara was born, the samskara transformed the mind in future to the same form. So, ghatakara, rupakara. Avasthantar apadakaha, that which brings about that avastha. Another avastha similar to previous avastha. Atindriyo dharma. The samskara is not something that can be perceived by the sense organs. So, atindriya. It is there very much. Had it not been there, then this would not have happened. So, how do you know samskara is there? Because we find that the same vritti again appears in the mind. And there is something that has created the vritti like ghatakar vritti, which is similar to the ghatakar vritti that took place when I first experienced ghata. Thus, this is samskara. So, the samskara is not something that you can see. Samskara is something that you infer. That is why this explanation is given that samskara or impressions must be there. Because otherwise, a similar thought cannot arise later. Had there not been something that makes the mind assume that similar thought, is something inside that makes the mind assume a similar thought, not the same thought, similar thought in future. So that's called samskara. Atindriyo dharma is not something that can be perceived by sense organs, and therefore it is only inferred that it must be there. What is perceived is the saman avasthantara. What is perceived is the vritti which is similar to previous vritti, therefore we infer the presence of samskara which must be instrumental in transforming the mind to this similar vritti. Tatascha ayam artha. Then this is the meaning. Rupadi akara parinat antahkarane rupadi samskara. So when the mind undergoes the transformation and assumes the form of rupa or color, so rupakar vritti, a thought form of the nature of color takes place. That is where rupadi samskara. In that mind, there is samskara or impression of color. Punarapi Rupadi Akara Parinama Hetuhu Vidyate. Meaning that the Rupadi Akara Parinama Hetuhu, the fact that later without the Rupa being there, earlier first time the Rupadi Akara came because of the presence of Rupa. Later on, without the presence of Rupa or the color also, the same thought comes. So what is it? Therefore, something must be there, which is the cause of the creation of a similar vritti, without the object being there. So that is called samskara. Hetuhu vidyate. And therefore, when the first experience takes place, such as a rupa, something happens there which is what makes the mind assume the similar form without the object being there. This should be very clear. Tatrevacha ragat, because we do not connect ragadvesha with mind. You know, so then you connect samskara with the mind. And samskara creates a similar experience. Tatrevacha ragadveshau rupadi darshana nimittau. So then when you see a form or color, then there is a response in me. What's the response? I like it. I do not like it. To every experience I respond habitually. I like it, do not like it. Anukulam, pratikulam. Therefore, if the experience is pleasant experience, raga, attachment is born. Unpleasant experience, dvesha, aversion is born. When I see something, one of the two things is going to happen. Therefore, that experience has caused, so the rupa, the experience of color or form is also caused raga and dvesha. Raga or dvesha. Therefore, raga dveshas have their cause in the experience of rupadi. And experience causes raga dvesha. Because when I experience something, my mind responds, either with approval or disapproval. And therefore attachment never raga dvesha. So experience causes raga dvesha. So where the experience is, there the raga dveshas are. Rupadi darshana nimitta. Rupadi darshanam becomes nimitta for which raga dvesha, the raga dvesha, same locus as the locus of the experience of rupa, etc. Then when ragadveshas are created, fear also is created. We may not be aware of it. When attachment is created, then fear is there because there is a fear of losing what I am attached to. And when dvesha is created, then also fear is created of being associated with what I do not like. And therefore fear is constantly there. In every relationship, fear is involved. In every relationship, raga, attachment, aversion, fear is involved. Oh, what will happen if that again happens? Oh, what will happen if it doesn't happen, you know? So, bhayam cha tatra, therefore, bhaya, fear also has the same locus. So, first, locus of experience. That experience causes raga, dvesha, so they have the same locus. Raga, dvesha cause fear, so fear also has the same locus. How do you say that? Do you have any kind of the pramanam? He says, yes. Kamaha, sankalpaha, vichikitsa, shraddha, ashraddha, dhrutihi, adhrutihi, hrihi, dhihi, bihi, iti etassavam manah eva iti shrutehe. Shruti says that. All with his mind. Kama is desire, sankalpa is determination, vichikitsa is doubt, shraddha is trust, ashraddha, lack of trust, dhrutihi, fortitude, adhrutihi, lack of fortitude, hrihi is shame, sort of, you know, dhihi, the knowledge, bihi, fear. So all of this is manam, all of this is mind. Because what is mind at a given point is the state, that vritti. So all of these different vrittis and countless other vrittis. So Aitri openly describes many other vrittis, all of that is the mind only. So Bihi is included here, fear. Iti Shrutehe. So Shruti says all of this is mind. And that makes sense when we analyze, how these vrittis take place. So Rupa Samskara Tulyadhi Ragadvesho Bhayam Chayat. Krishyate. So Yat is explained as Yasmat Dishrayam Buddhi Samshayam Ragadveshu Bhayam Chayati Trem Atmana Grishyate. Now, I am aware of raga. I am aware of Atmana Grishyate. By me, Grishyate are perceived. Raga, attachment, I am aware. Dvesha, aversion, I am aware. Bhayam, fear also I am aware. Therefore, you are aware of them, therefore you are not them. Atma Samshrayam, this trem, this threefold, what the Tripurti or three that are stated, Raga, Dvesha, Bhaya, are Atmana Grishyate. They are perceived by me and therefore they are not located in me. Na Atma Samshrayam. Tasmad Jnata Shuddho Ragadi Rahita. So what is the reason why Drishyate? First, establish that all of them have their locus in the mind, which manifests constantly in the form of various thoughts, and I am aware of them. So it's very clear that Ragadvesha are aware of, and they have their locus in the mind, anatma, not in Atma. Otherwise, they could not have been aware of them. So again, this experience is pointed out. Just as I don't have aham mama in that body, there is no reason to have aham mama in this body. And just as ragadveshas, cannot say I possess ragadveshas because ragadveshas are equally the object of my awareness. Therefore I cannot be them. That trayam na atma samshrayam, these three do not have samshraya or locus in Atma. Tasmat Jnata Shuddha Ragadi Rahita Abhayascha Sadayati. Therefore, who are you? You are Jnata. Mumukshu is being told. Mumukshu says, but I am possessor of Ragadveshas. Then how can I have Samatva Darshanam? He says, you are not possessed of Ragadvesha. You think you are possessed of Ragadvesha. If you analyze that, it's clear that Ragadvesha and fear also are equally the object of awareness. Why? Because they are not located in Atma. Where are they located? They are located in mind. So you are Shuddha. Ragadi Rahita. Raga, Dvesha, Bhaya are the object of awareness. Therefore, you are devoid of them. Abhayascha Sada. And fear also. And therefore, you are devoid of fear. You have Ragadvesha. So if Ragadvesha are impurities, you are ever pure and ever fearless. That's your nature. So do no justification for not having Samatva Darshanam. So here, this is a way of unfolding. If someone comes up with all these different experiences or conclusions, and each conclusion is shown what's the mechanism or the anatomy of a conclusion is shown to make us understand how that conclusion is not addressed by reasoning, and therefore it is taken for granted and sustained, and that becomes the basis of my life. So this helps us to live the day-to-day life also. We live our life on this conclusion, this aham mama, or ragadveshas are all mine, aham ragi, aham dveshi. He says there is no justification for this conclusion. You cannot justify, because all of this you are only making yourself miserable. The point is that this is how we are causing the pain, torturing ourselves, not knowing. Or we allow others to torture us with all this stuff within ourselves. And so very beautifully this text points out, both the Atma and Atma Viveka, the same time how also to grow so that that Viveka is possible and then we can abide in that Viveka. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashyakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.